Last year, my mom and I discovered that my dad had been having an affair for more than 4 years. In those 4 years, he missed birthday parties for his kids. He wasn't there when I was in the hospital because of my heart condition, or when my little brother had appendicitis. Apparently, he showed up at his affair partner's kids' birthday parties. He even skipped my 16th birthday for one of her kids' 5th birthday party. The truth came out after we found them together. My younger siblings were at school, Mom and I were having a Mom-Son day, and when we got home the two of them were together. In the whole explosion of arguing, it came out that Dad had been there for her kids more than us since the affair started, and that he was with her when he wasn't with us. He'd even faked 2 business trips, and actually spent the whole time with them. One of those was when I was at the hospital, and he still chose to stay, saying that the business trip was essential for him to keep his job. I ended my relationship with my father there and then. But he showed up at my birthday party last week with his affair partner and her kids. He was not invited but had asked my youngest sister about it. I told them to leave. They argued about their presence there, saying we were a family. I said they were not my family and did not want them there. His affair partner tried to defend my father, and that's when I told him that he should have been with his kids instead of cheating with her and playing dad to her kids when we were sick or when we had parties, etc. All my siblings were so mad to learn this too. My father and most of his family are angry at me for exposing the affair as I did. They said I acted like a child instead of an adult and that it was private and shouldn't be aired for all to hear. Am I the idiot? Didn't he expose his own affair by coming to your birthday with his other family? What kind of narcissistic BS is that? As if he was going to force you to accept them? His side of the family defending him only shows why he thinks that would even remotely be okay. Not the idiot, screw all of them. He had the absolute gall to bring the woman he cheated with to your party, and for her to defend him? You had every right to say what you did. Instead of being angry at how you handled it, which you handled it pretty well, his family should be angry at their lying, adulterous idiot of a son for bailing out on his own family and only finally showing up to an event with the home wrecker. His family is just angry because now he's an embarrassment to them. I'm so sorry you, your mom, and your siblings are going through this. That's a huge betrayal, and you've every right to cut them off. If they didn't want the affair exposed, they should have had the good grace to lay low and not try to force their way into your party and life. The fact that he brought the other woman and her kids, mind-boggling, absurd, tone-deaf in the extreme. I hope you and your family can heal without them, as they don't deserve to be in your life. I had my daughter pre-tween when I was 22. My sister was 25 at the time. I don't know when she became child-free. At my baby shower, she had a frown on her face the whole time and would say things like, "Oh, another expensive gift. Wow, could pay my rent if I sold that." My pregnancy was quite scary, but everything turned out fine. When my family came to the hospital to greet and hold her, my sister refused even to touch her. She explained that she doesn't like small kids, especially babies, and never wants to have them. I was quite sad at this and asked her why she wouldn't want to interact with her own family just because she doesn't like or want kids. She just shrugged and handed me a congrats card. The rest of the family was horrified, and she kind of became an outcast at that point. She was always starting some kind of drama with someone. Fast forward to now. A couple of months ago, she started showing more interest in my daughter. She'd call and ask what her favourite colours and movies were, drop her presents off on my door. Finally, I asked her why she wanted to get to know my daughter after all this time. She said it was because my daughter was older and wasn't a screaming baby. She can hold a conversation now, so I think we'll get along just fine. I shook my head and said she made her decision not to interact with her years ago. I told her she doesn't just get to decide when she wants to act like an aunt randomly. I don't even think you love her. How could you? You don't even call me half the time. She said she was trying to be an aunt, and I just had to give her a chance. I told her I'd tried giving her many chances and she blew it. She called me an idiot. She said I couldn't let go of the past and that she knew me getting pregnant was the end of the sister she once knew. She hung up and I told my husband everything. He says I have every right not to let her in my daughter's life, but I feel unsure. The rest of the family agrees. Edit. After the family started shutting her out, she did talk crap about the baby and me on social media to others, etc. Despite this, I gave her many other chances to apologize and be in her niece's life, but she blew it every time. Plus, she'd been a problem way before I even got pregnant. Unfortunately, she wasn't pleasant to be around and most people were done dealing with her. Although she did stop the drama after a while, she didn't keep talking crap for 8 years, but the damage was and is done. Not the idiot. Decisions have consequences. Being child-free is fine, but refusing to interact with someone for almost a decade and then acting like she can just waltz back in and everything will be smooth sailing is ridiculous. Life doesn't work like that. She's only thinking of herself and not your child. Your child is a stranger to her. They have no bond. She missed out on her entire life and now selfishly wants back in. You don't need to give her a chance if it means protecting your daughter from people that aren't good for her. Exactly. Your sister may nope out of your daughter's life again after 6 months or a year. She considers your daughter optional. She is not. Therefore, you must be her advocate and protector. If you want to give your sister a chance, she can see your daughter when she's with you, your mother, husband, or some trusted relative. It sounds like the sister was jealous of all the attention that OP and her baby were getting and was resentful of them for it. If OP's sister can't be supportive and happy for her, she might not have the patience to be around even a pre-tween. Everyone's the idiot here. Note that she didn't pull herself from the life of her niece. She was banned by the entire family after what she said after the birth, aka not liking to hold babies. Such a crime. OP herself said it. I don't think that her sister liked being treated like an outsider by all the family, just because OP was hurt by the fact her sister wasn't gushing around her new treasure. It reeks of golden child versus scapegoat, to be honest, when I think about it. I would love to hear the sister's side. I, 20 female, am a junior in college and started back around a month ago. My father, 50s, called me yesterday just after one of my classes ended and asked how I was doing. I responded that I was fine, that my literature class had just finished, and I was headed to meet some friends. He asked me if I was making time to study and brought up a few things I'd mentioned the other day. An upcoming paper, a couple of quizzes, just normal stuff, and I told him I had everything under control. That's when he said, "You better, I want to hear that you made A's on all your tests." He said this all my life, and it's been especially bothersome and grating to hear in the last couple of years. I laughed and said that this isn't high school and I don't get report cards anymore, and he replied that of course I don't, but I'll be telling him whenever he calls to check in. It was getting on my nerves, and it didn't help that I was hungry, and I ended up snapping that it's not any of his business and he should lay off me about it. He yelled at me, called me rude and disrespectful, and told me to check my attitude before getting me into trouble. I told him he didn't need to get upset and that I was just making a pretty obvious statement considering he doesn't pay my tuition bill. He got angry and yelled some more, then told me he called me back after I got off my period and hung up. He just tried to call me again about an hour ago and I ignored it. But now I'm wondering if I was the idiot for telling him my grades aren't his business. I haven't lived with him for 3 years as of this past August, so he has essentially not paid for any of my bills since. I count him paying for the house's water and electric as paying my bills, obviously, and I've been living in an apartment for the past year. When his side of the family threw me a surprise graduation party, he was the only person who didn't give me a graduation gift or any college money. If he isn't part of financing my education, then my classes, grades, path, etc. isn't really his concern. But am I in the wrong here? Just text him, "Can't talk now, on my period," anytime he tries to contact you in the future. You are not the idiot. Your dad is a cheap misogynistic control freak. Tell him to keep his misogynistic comments to himself and that you're not accepting any more calls that pointlessly stress you out. Also, tell him that unless he pays your tuition, he has no right to know what grades you're getting, so stop asking. There's a difference between being a concerned parent and what he's doing. He seems to be trying to exert some level of control on you that isn't there anymore and not dealing with the fact that you're becoming an adult and are handling your own business now. Also, assuming you attend college in the US, your parents have no rights to your academic records, so you're serving as the conduit for what information you want to pass along to them. Therefore, you are well within your rights to speak in generalities about your education, and he can go pound sand. Maybe do yourself a favor and pretend your period lasts forever and go no contact with him. Nothing is more annoying than being treated like a child and others trying to control you. It'll be a lot less stressful not to have to deal with being nagged with aggression. Sorry you've had to deal with that kind of behavior. My female teen parents aren't together, so my brother Luke, younger teen, and I go back and forth between houses. My dad is a decent dad for the most part, but he dates all these women and insists she's the one every time. Honestly, when we were kids, Luke and I liked the first couple, but then it got old. He always insists, she's the one, it's different this time, but they're usually gone in a year and a half max. Dad's been with Amanda for 6 to 8 months, I think. She has a daughter, Peggy, that's a tween. Amanda is French, or lived in France, not sure which, but she doesn't really have an accent. She speaks French to Peggy frequently. She wants her to know the language. Makes sense. Honestly, when I was a freshman, I wanted to take French instead of Spanish, but my dad insisted Luke and I both take Spanish because we'd use it more. So I had Spanish freshman and sophomore year. Amanda and Peggy do this thing. It irritates me so much. Amanda will randomly start speaking French to Peggy whenever we're all having a conversation at dinner or whatever. It's like she's cutting us all out of the conversation. We all have to wait for them to finish because my dad ignores us until they're done. One time we were trying to pick a movie to watch. We were all talking about our choices, then Amanda and Peggy conversed in French, and Amanda told my dad what they wanted to watch, so we watched that. The point is, it's not just them talking amongst themselves or Amanda telling Peggy to do her homework or something. Luke and I talked to my dad and he said, they're not that bad. We said they were and it's annoying. I think Amanda does it because we don't speak French. He said, well, if you want to know what they're saying, learn French. I said, no, I already have my foreign language requirement to graduate. He said, it never hurts to learn another and they're going to be around for a while. Sure, Jan. My dad only speaks English for the record, so... Anyway, Luke knows some Spanish. Yesterday at dinner, Amanda and Peggy were doing their BS. When they got done, I looked at Luke and started saying random stuff. Complete gibberish, but he's only a few weeks in Spanish 1. I wanted him to get the hint, and he did. We chat and kind of laugh. My dad asked what we were doing. I said, oh, I'm just speaking Spanish to my brother, so he'll remember it. When my dad was driving us home, he lectured us, me, and said I was making fun of Amanda, which was rude, that she's genuinely helping Peggy remember French, and we mocked her. I said, I don't care that she speaks French, but she doesn't have to do it mid-conversation with us. If she doesn't want it done to her, she shouldn't do it. He said I was being immature, and he expected me to apologize to them. She does this constantly, and Dad just thinks we're supposed to sit and wait for them. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. In a group setting, it's common decency to include everyone in the conversation, and not have side conversations in another language that everyone else at the table doesn't understand. If they want to practice their French, they can do it when you're not there. It's rude to talk in front of you, knowing you don't understand. And your dad is the idiot for not standing up to his newest woman and telling her she can't talk in French when sharing a meal with you and your brother. Oh, he knows he's the idiot. He just cares about getting his current intimacy in before the next one comes along. My brother and I speak English and Greek, and we only switched to Greek at the dinner table when we wanted to make fun of something because we knew that the others didn't understand a word. I'll bet my last $10 they were talking crap about you all in French. You can speak Spanish if you want. It shouldn't be a problem because they speak French. It's good to pay it back the same treatment you all were getting from them. Screw them. Keep speaking Spanish till they're feeling left out. This is the politest and least confrontational way you could have made your point. Alright, my dad left me, 24 male, everything after he passed away earlier this year. In the last few months of his life, we recorded all of his valuables and who they should go to. I got everything except for a few things he wanted his brother to have. He made me swear that my mother and sister would receive nothing from him. My mother, 52, cheated on my dad when I was 14, and my sister was 16. So I decided to stay with my dad, and my sister, 26, chose to live with my mom. They stayed no contact with us until last week. My dad left me 3 properties when he passed. Each property is a farmhouse with 150 acres of land, and each has a barn. I've been renovating the properties so I can rent them out or sell them to new farmers. I posted a picture of one of the completed properties on social media, and I guess my sister saw it. I'm still mad at her because she never visited our dad while he was in the hospital. Honestly, to me, my mother and sister aren't family anymore after the amount of disrespect they showed my dad and me. Well, she called me earlier this week and told me about her husband and kids. We talked about nonsense until she asked when she was getting her inheritance. I asked what she wanted from Dad's, and she said one of the properties and $100,000. I told her that Dad specifically told me not to give her or Mom anything, so she was out of luck. She screamed at me for 15 minutes, but eventually hung up. My dad left me a lot of money, and I could honestly give her the money she wanted without any financial burden on my part. but I know it won't go to her kids' college fund or anything useful. She'll blow it on a new car and a bunch of clothes. I already put money aside for her kids' college that she doesn't know about. My mom called me yesterday and told me that it was my sister's right to the money and property as his daughter. She told me that I didn't need everything that my dad left and to share it. I told her that if she was worried about it, she should give my sister $100,000 because she cares more than I do. Mom called me a disrespectful little idiot and hung up. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. They stayed no contact with us, full stop. You have no relationship with these people. They just want to use what you have. He didn't leave them anything in his correctly and legally prepared will. You have no reason to disrespect your father's wishes. An inheritance is a gift passed from one to another upon death. Why would you give part of a gift to someone else? Father would have done it himself in his will if he saw fit to do that. It's always amusing how people crawl out of the woodwork when they smell inheritance and think they're entitled to some. Your sister can't choose to remain no contact and then try and profit off her father, who she clearly didn't care about. Now she can crawl back into the woodwork empty-handed. And screw what your mum says about the situation. She has no leg to stand on regarding what your dad should have done for your sister. Also, it's nice that you put up trust funds for her kids' college. Once they're old enough, maybe let them know. She'll almost certainly say crap about you behind your back to them, and kids are more likely to believe their parents than no-contact relatives.